Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice of the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Coming up in the next hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi concludes successful two-nations visit. India-Singapore strategic partnership gains new momentum with focus on semiconductor ecosystem. Russia's President Vladimir Putin, ready for talks with Ukraine, says India could act as a mediator in peace negotiations to end the conflict. World Bank approves $68 million lifeline for remote Pacific islands, funds to support tourism, trade and aid flows. No Ronaldo or Messi in the 30-man nomination list announced for the prestigious Ballon d'Or awards ceremony set to take place in October in Paris this year. Prime Minister Narendra Modi concluded his two-nations visit, a series of engagements with political and business leaders in Singapore. During his tour to Singapore, Prime Minister Modi on Wednesday engaged with the top leadership of the country to strengthen ties between the strategic allies.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi visiting the Parliament of Singapore with the Prime Minister of the country as part of his two-day visit to the Southeast Asian nation. The Prime Minister was given a ceremonial welcome by the government of Singapore upon his arrival at Parliament. Prime Minister Modi was accompanied by a high-level delegation including External Affairs Minister and National Security Advisor of India. Prime Minister Modi congratulated the newly elected Prime Minister of Singapore and highlighted the growing bond between the two countries. The two leaders signed 4 memorandums of understanding between the Government of India and Singapore. The MOUs signed included MOU in the field of digital technologies, MOU on semiconductor ecosystem partnership, MOU on cooperation in the field of health and medicine, MOU on educational cooperation and skills development. Prime Minister Modi, accompanied by the host Prime Minister, also later visited a semiconductor facility in Singapore and interacted with Indian interns from Odisha's World Skills Centre. The students called the opportunity to meet Prime Minister Modi motivating.
Very happy and excited today because today we meet our Singapore Prime Minister and also India Prime Minister. So I got this opportunity. Thankful to be here today.
I am doing an internship in a Four Seasons Hotel like a maintenance engineer. Visiting Prime Minister is a very big things.
After visiting the semiconductor facility, Prime Minister Modi was hosted for lunch by Senior Minister and former Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Hsien Loong. Later, Prime Minister Modi also called on President of Singapore, His Excellency Tharman Shanmugaratnam, at his official residence. Before concluding his visit to Singapore, Prime Minister Modi held a business roundtable with a wide range of business leaders in a bid to boost the business and investments in India.
With the successful conclusion of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 5th visit to Singapore, a new chapter in the friendship between the two countries has started. The kind of political will showed by the leadership of the two countries and the enthusiasm that is being seen on the ground in both India and Singapore, the relation between the two countries is most likely to reach new heights. In Singapore, with camera person SP Dubey, Akshay Dongre, DD India.
And during his visit, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacted with a group of leading Singaporean CEOs from diverse sectors on Thursday. During the interaction, Prime Minister spoke about various initiatives to enhance India's participation in global value chains.
हम बहुत एग्रेसिवली सेमीकंडक्टर के क्षेत्र में जा रहे हैं। अब तक करीब 5 कंपनियां ऑलरेडी अपना काम शुरू कर चुकी हैं, आगे भी औरों की संभावनाएं हैं और हम पूरी इकोसिस्टम को लाने वाले। हमको एक छोटा सा टुकड़ा एक आध हिस्सा करके अटकने वाले नहीं है। भारत के पास टैलेंट है। आज दुनिया में जितने भी चिप्स हैं, अगर उसका राइटिंग का काम है तो सॉफ्टवेयर का काम है, वो सब हिंदुस्तान में हो रहा है। सब बड़ी कंपनियों के रिसर्च यूनिट वहीं पर है। अब हम चाहते हैं कि हम खुद ही यहाँ पर उस दिशा में आगे बढ़े, तो आपके लिए वो भी एक बहुत बड़ा स्कोप है।
Business leaders who met Prime Minister Modi hailed the growth in several sectors, including digital, power and semiconductors.
It's very exciting, to meet with Prime Minister Modi in person. His leadership is exceptional. For the past, this is his third term, right? For the past 2 terms, you can see that India has become one of the major player globally, the 5th largest the economies in the world. And I would like to continue to encourage him to open up the market, to consider some of the new policies, or improve some of the existing policy to encourage more collaboration, particularly with Singaporean companies and then with the Singaporean investments. We're talking about, high efficiency transportation systems. We're talking about smart cities. We're talking about the energy strategy and planning for clean and reusable energy and hydrogens. And then also the other very important sector is aviation. Right. With the population growth, we'll see the aviation-related infrastructure will be in high demand. Right. So these are the areas, and of course the most critical part is really the sustainability, and we need to be very mindful about how to design and plan and build the future cities in everything in a very sustainable way.
Commitment to digital India, the commitment to digitalization across all of Indian society has been actually something that is, for a lot of places, an example to follow. Yeah. And I think we've been very excited and pleased by that, because what we've been able to do is enable the economy this way, the digital economy. And we've been able to serve more than 1,000 companies, small, medium, large companies in India, plus some of the big Fortune 500 companies, the big cloud players, because that enables them to come in and provide the digital infrastructure to allow all the other things like AI, greater e-commerce, and the proliferation of data penetration and broadband across the country. To demonstrate money where our mouth is, we are actually investing more than 26,000 crores, 3.2 billion US in the next 5 years to enable this. It means that substantial 550 megawatts of capacity will come online, data center capacity, which means that now the foundations across major cities and first, second tier cities, which we have been starting to invest in, not just the first tier cities, we've seen that basically that demand is increasing rapidly, and that will allow that whole digital India story to really expand and grow dramatically.
I was really very impressed with and encouraged by what Mr. Modi said to all of us. This is Mr. Modi's third term as Prime Minister of India. And all of us around the table have been in India, investing in India. My own firm has been in India for 20 years. And clearly what we have done in the last 10 years during Mr. Modi's time as Prime Minister has been much more than what we could achieve in earlier periods. But what Mr. Modi said, that in his next 5 years, in his third term, he will achieve much more than what he did in his first 10 years. So this has given us a lot of encouragement that, his increased vigor and his focus on so many different aspects, from space to air travel to housing to AI, digital India, just so many opportunities for us and for all of my colleagues, the 20 businesses who are present today, that we will be going back really very encouraged with the opportunities that India presents to us as Singapore companies, and as we're looking to expand beyond the shores of Singapore. We were really taken by what Mr. Modi said just recently, that we will reform, you will have to perform and also transform. That's really words which mean a lot to us. But actually, we have been seeing that happen.
And DD India's Akshay Dongare spoke with the chairman of AEM Holdings about future collaboration between India and Singapore.
The Prime Minister of India is visiting Singapore, and one of the key highlight of this visit is going to be technology of semiconductors. In fact, we are at the AEM Holdings, and we have the chairperson with us. Sir, thank you so much for speaking with us. How do you see the future as far as the relation between the two countries are concerned and the role that semiconductors can play?
Well, if you look at the Indian diaspora across the world, it's very clear to see that the leaders in semiconductors are there. How we can collaborate, obviously, this change in a way that impacts Moore's law and advanced packaging creates opportunity for both nations. Prime Minister Modi's visit here is very apt because that signals that symbiotic relationship where it starts with the business relationship, the investments. So all stakeholders have to benefit in these relationships.
So you are part of the semiconductor industry in Singapore. How is the industry looking at the India's push as far as the ambitions to become a manufacturing hub?
Well, it's absolutely the right push. There are two ways, and I call it two types of investments you got to make. One is the journey that Singapore took in terms of first getting into electronics manufacturing, assembly, making sure that the electronics demand is local in terms of its production, and then bringing the chips in from a logistics supply chain perspective. At the same time, building up the infrastructure for more advanced semiconductor manufacturing, which requires clean power, water, and then of course the ecosystem of chemical producers as well. So that will take time. Then there's the human capital development, right? So there has to be the technicians, the supervisors, the people who understand how to problem solve from a process improvement perspective and continuous improvement. That all needs to be built up in scale as well.
In the last few decades that we have seen, there have been only limited countries that have been seen as the manufacturing hubs or places of innovation as far as the semiconductor technology is concerned, most of them located in Southeast Asia or in the region. But now new players are coming up. So how can the collaboration take place, especially when we talk about India? What kind of potential that you see in the Indian market as well as the Indian manufacturing industry?
Well, it's part of a new globalization, right? So you see a lot of high-end electronics, mobile companies moving to India. It's all public, right? They're shifting to India. So that shift is actually a very important end market because they are consumers of semiconductors.
Absolutely.
So the more electronics assembly and production that India has, the more it will have an end market for semiconductors.
Right.
So you got to think about that ecosystem because logistics also plays a part in it.
Chairman of AEM Holdings and talking to us about the semiconductor market that is at present and the future of collaboration that can take place between India and Singapore as far as the semiconductor industry is concerned. With camera person SP Dubey, Akshay Dongare, DD India.
Moving on, solar power and wind energy is the way forward for a sustainable future. India has walked the talk with 14.9 gigawatts of solar energy target achieved in the first 6 months of 2024. The International Solar Festival in the national capital Delhi looks at solutions for the world and the global south. DD India correspondent Anil Thomas has the details.
The International Solar Festival is a call to action for a sustainable and equitable future powered by solar energy. Creating a more resilient and sustainable world is the need of the hour.
In such a short time, the membership of ISA had reached a milestone of 100 countries. Additionally, 19 more countries are ratifying the framework agreement for attaining full membership. The growth of this organization is important for the vision of one world, one sun, one grid.
The two-day event hosted at Bharat Mandapam is a testament of the age-old traditions of India, which are now a source of inspiration for the world.
Ensuring the energy access to all and is also a priority, and therefore we have to make gradual and expedite to shift to renewable energy sources. The International Solar Alliance furthers this vision by creating an ecosystem of support to solarize underserved communities across the globe.
Hosted by the International Solar Alliance, the International Solar Festival will catalyze global solar adoption by forging partnerships, unlocking innovative financing, deploying cutting-edge technology and boosting capacity in ISA member countries.
We want Indian batteries to be made with Australian lithium. We want Indian green steel to be produced with Australian green iron. And we want Indian solar panels to be made with Australian silicon.
ISA has a crucial role to play to help countries identify their priority needs and reinforce their capacities. I welcome the involvement of the private sector and of multiple stakeholders in the International Solar Festival, the first one to be held. Indeed, France is convinced that the development of a close cooperation between the International Solar Alliance and the private sector is key to address the challenges that the world faces today in the energy sector.
The International Solar Festival aligns businesses, policymakers and financial institutions. The two-day event will serve as a launchpad for transformative collaborations that fast-track the world's transition to a future powered by affordable, reliable and sustainable solar energy. Anil Thomas's report for DD India.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. German police kill gunman in exchange of fire near Israeli consulate in Munich. World Bank President Ajay Banga visits Fiji, approves $68 million cross-border bank lifeline for remote Pacific islands. Egypt's Army Chief of Staff makes surprise visit to the country's borders with Gaza Strip to inspect security situation.
How it stands at the forefront of this energy transition, offering a clean, versatile solution to decarbonize sectors that have long relied on fossil fuels.
Green hydrogen is actually produced when you use renewable energy to power the electrolyzer, which splits water into hydrogen and oxygen.
Green hydrogen has a very, very critical role to play because it allows us to start getting into solutions that work for a lot of the other energy consuming sectors.
India has some of the brightest people in the world and the visibility that the government has given in terms of national mission and side programs. So I think others will find the same reasons to invest and grow deeper in building their products.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Some news coming in from Egypt. Egypt's Army Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Ahmad Fatih Khalifa, made a surprise visit to the country's borders with Gaza to inspect the security situation. State television reported on Thursday, citing the army spokesperson. The visit comes after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Wednesday that Israel would only agree to a permanent ceasefire in Gaza, which guaranteed that the border area between southern Gaza and Egypt could never be used as a lifeline for Islamist movement Hamas. The Israel-Gaza conflict continues to escalate, with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu demanding the permanent closure of the Gaza-Egypt border to Hamas as a condition for a long-term ceasefire. In response, Hamas accuses Netanyahu of obstructing peace efforts by refusing to withdraw from the Philadelphia corridor. More in this report.
The Israel-Gaza conflict shows no signs of abating as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu insists that his government will agree to a long-term ceasefire only if it includes the permanent closure of the Gaza-Egypt border to Hamas, ensuring it cannot use the area as a supply route.
But we also agreed to begin discussions about a permanent ceasefire. And the conditions that we shall have for a permanent ceasefire must include a situation where the Philadelphia corridor cannot be perforated. Somebody has to be there.
In response, Hamas has condemned Netanyahu for allegedly sabotaging potential peace talks by refusing to vacate the Philadelphia corridor in southern Gaza. Amid the ongoing hostilities, the Israeli military has released footage showing a tunnel where the remains of 6 hostages were found. The discovery has led to widespread mourning and protest, with thousands demanding an immediate resolution for the hostages.
Just to keep its ability to maintain the government, and this is completely wrong because every Israeli citizen was raised to believe that human lives are more important than everything else. And now we are explained that the Israeli government itself is more important than Israeli lives. And that is completely wrong.
Despite the conflict, a polio vaccination drive has begun in Khan Yunis. On Thursday, large crowds gathered at medical centers in southern Gaza to have their children vaccinated as part of the second phase of the campaign. Bureau Report, DD India.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has signaled his willingness to engage in talks with Ukraine on the condition that these discussions be based on the Istanbul Agreement from 2022. Speaking at the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok, Putin said India could have to play a key role in the peace negotiations to end the conflict.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is ready for talks with Ukraine after having previously rebuffed the idea of negotiations. This comes after Kyiv's offensive into Russia's Kursk region in August 2024. Speaking at Russia's Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok, President Putin said that China, India and Brazil could act as mediators in potential peace talks over Ukraine.
We respect our friends, partners, who I believe are sincerely interested in resolving all issues related to this conflict. This is primarily the People's Republic of China, Brazil, India. I'm constantly in contact with our colleagues on this issue. And I have no doubt that the leaders of these countries, we have a trusting relationship with them, sincerely strive to help understand all the details of this complex process.
A preliminary agreement reached between Russian and Ukrainian negotiators in the first weeks of the war at talks in Istanbul, which was never implemented, could serve as the basis for talks. Further, Putin also said that Ukraine had weakened itself by transferring large units in Russia.
By moving those rather large and not badly prepared grouping to the border area, the enemy has weakened themselves in the key accesses and our forces have sped up the assault operations.
On Wednesday, UN Nuclear Agency Chief Rafael Grossi visited Zaporizhia nuclear plant in southeast Ukraine and inspected the cooling towers that caught fire last month.
Of course, the situation is not easy, so not everything is perfect, but we are really, in my opinion, we are stabilizing the situation. We are looking into some technical issues. We are going to be doing that today. So there is a work which is important.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces shot down 60 out of 78 drones launched by Russia in an overnight offensive on Thursday. Ukraine claims that Russia used one ballistic Iskander-M missile, while Russian Ministry of Defense said that Russian forces had taken control of a settlement in the Donetsk region. Aman Kumar Himanshu's report for DD India.
German police shot a man in exchange of fire near the Israeli consulate and a Nazi documentation center in Munich on Thursday. The Israeli Foreign Ministry said the consulate was closed on Thursday for a commemoration of the Munich Olympics massacre. No one from the consulate staff was injured in the incident. Police spokesperson of southern Germany said the gunman has been identified as an 18-year-old Austrian national. Investigation is still underway.
What we can actually confirm is that the suspect has now been identified and it is actually an 18-year-old with Australian citizenship who, as far as I know, is resident in Austria. I would like to ask for your understanding regarding the motive as the investigation is still ongoing and we will report back in due course in consultation with the Public Prosecutor General's Office.
Horror struck a high school in the U.S. state of Georgia on Wednesday when a 14-year-old student opened fire, killing 2 students and 2 teachers before surrendering. Police say that the teenage suspect surrendered immediately and will be charged as an adult with murder. The accused was investigated last year for threatening to carry out a school shooting. The latest shooting was the first of the new school year in the United States and served as a stark reminder of the threat of gun violence in schools and colleges across the nation. The United States has seen hundreds of shootings at schools and colleges in the past 2 decades, with the deadliest resulting in over 30 deaths in Virginia Tech in 2007. And U.S. presidential candidate Kamala Harris called the shooting a senseless tragedy.
This is just a senseless tragedy on top of so many senseless tragedies. And it's just outrageous that every day in our country, in the United States of America, that parents have to send their children to school worried about whether or not their child will come home alive. It's senseless. It is, we've got to stop it. And we have to end this epidemic of gun violence in our country once and for all.
On to some other stories. The World Bank has approved $68 million program to prevent Pacific Island nations from being cut off from the international financial system that underpins tourism, trade and aid flows. The announcement was made by World Bank President Ajay Banga on Thursday during his visit to Fiji, the first by a World Bank leader in 50 years. Banga assured Pacific Island leaders of the bank's support amidst concerns over losing access to major currencies due to Western banks withdrawing from the region. He also visited a medical center and attended a welcome ceremony with Fiji's Prime Minister. Britain's HS2 high-speed rail project linking London with Birmingham in central England on Thursday completed the construction of what will be UK's longest bridge. Stretching for more than 2 miles, the Colne Valley Viaduct runs across a series of lakes and waterways between Hillingdon and the M25. The operation involved lowering of 1,000 deck segments into place, completing more than 2 years of construction. The project is designed to help modernize the rail network, slash travel times and help Britain catch up with other European nations that operate well-connected high-speed rail networks. Britain only has a small section connecting London with rail tunnel to mainland Europe. Over the years, it has pitched as a way to reduce regional economic disparities. The first trains are expected to start between 2029 and 2033. Still to come on DD India News Hour. India's President Draupadi Murmu confers National Teachers Award 2024 to selected awardees. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi virtually addresses first International Solar Festival. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Our top stories. Russia's President Vladimir Putin, ready for talks with Ukraine, says India could act as a mediator in peace negotiations to end the conflict. World Bank approved $68 million lifeline for remote Pacific islands, funds to support tourism, trade and aid flows. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg said on Thursday that he does not see any immediate military threat against the countries of the military alliance, but says that there was a constant threat of terrorism, cyber attacks and sabotage. After 10 years in office, Stoltenberg's term ends on October 1st. He'll be handing over the reins to former Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rotte. Let's now turn to other stories making news around the world. Researchers at Italian Institute of Technology have decided to teach their two-legged robot named Ironcot to fly with jetpack. The team hopes that the robots will be able to perform search and rescue operations in locations which are too dangerous or inaccessible for people after learning how to fly. Chinese-founded e-commerce retailer Shein has divided opinion with its first physical pop-up store in South Africa. The store that opened in Mall of Africa for just over a week in August attracted long queues of customers eager for clothes and accessories, often selling for equivalent of less than $10 each. A bright fireball lit up the night sky in northern Philippines as an asteroid burnt up in the Earth's atmosphere early on Thursday. The asteroid, measuring approximately 1 meter, struck the Earth's atmosphere over Philippines near Luzon Island and burned up harmlessly. India's President Draupadi Murmu awarded more than 80 teachers for their extraordinary contribution in the field of education on the occasion of National Teachers' Day. 50 teachers from primary and secondary schools across the country were awarded by President Murmu in the national capital. The President also awarded 82 teachers from different universities and colleges across India for their contribution towards innovation and nation building. Teachers' Day is celebrated in India on 5th of September every year to mark the birth anniversary of former President of India, Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan.
राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति 2020 में कौशल विकास पर विशेष जोर दिया गया है। इस नीति में प्रत्येक विद्यार्थियों के लिए वोकेशनल एक्सपीरियंस प्राप्त करने पर बल दिया गया है। इस अनुरूप में बच्चों का सर्वांगीण विकास होता है। समग्र विकास में स्किल डेवलपमेंट और एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप का भी उतना ही महत्व है जितना एकेडमिक लर्निंग का है। हमारी संस्कृति में विश्वकर्मा को देवता का दर्जा दिया गया है। आज कौशल विकास से जुड़े शिक्षकों को भी सम्मानित किया गया है।
In a historic move to strengthen Indian education in the UAE, the Central Board of Secondary Education, CBSE, has launched its first regional office and centre of excellence outside of India, situated in Dubai. The milestone was marked with a special orientation session on Teachers' Day between CBSE officials, representatives from Indian Mission in Dubai, and principals from 78 schools across Dubai and the Northern Emirates. The session provided a platform to discuss the new office's goals, scope, and its expected impact on the region. In his address, the Consul General of India in Dubai, Satish Kumar Sivan, emphasized on the importance of this new development.
Today is also special, for we are having the first formal interaction between the team of CBSE, RO and COE in Dubai, which started functioning just 2 months ago, as Mr. Ramshankar was mentioning. We thought it fit to have the interaction with you all today at the start of the academic year, and what better way to do it as a tribute on Teachers' Day. I must say that the team at CBSE Regional Office in Dubai has the best of the best assigned from CBSE.
Out of this 50 hours CPD guidelines, it is essential that 25 hours CPD you have to attend through the Center of Excellence of the CBSE, and the rest 25 choice is with you. Choice is with the individual as per your requirement, as per your needs.
India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman spoke at the 114th Annual General Meeting of the Southern India Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Chennai. She talked about how important it is for India to have a stable government based on past issues caused by unstable governments. She warned that unstable governments can lead to economic problems and force the country to give up valuable assets. The minister also mentioned plans to develop economic corridors, including expanding defence corridors in Tamil Nadu, Palakkad in Kerala, Tumakuru in Karnataka. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman emphasized that simplifying tax compliance for citizens is key objective of the Union government. Her remarks came during a special address, Finance Minister's Insight on Future Path, hosted by the Revenue Bar Association in Chennai on Thursday.
Revenue is the last consideration with which every budget set of meetings happen. You might think I'm not saying the truth, but this is the hard truth I'd like to put before you. Yes, we need to raise revenue. And during the budget consultations that I've had, several of them happen with the department, several of them happen with the Prime Minister's office and Prime Minister himself. Revenue raising comes later. Simplifying and easing compliance on the taxpayer comes first.
Shaktikanta Das, Governor, RBI, said that Indian economy is now at a critical juncture with massive changes taking shape in various economic sectors and markets. The country is geared for orbital shifts. He was addressing the flagship event of FICCI and IBA 2024 in Mumbai.
Reserve Bank of India Governor Shaktikanta Das said on Thursday that India's growth story remains intact and the fundamental growth drivers of the economy are gaining momentum.
For the current financial year, the Reserve Bank has projected a growth rate of 7.2%. The IMF has also projected India's growth prospect. They have in fact revised their growth projection for India upwards and have now placed it at 7%. And 2 days ago, the World Bank has also upgraded India's growth forecast to 7% for the financial year 24-25.
During his inaugural address at FIBAC 2024 event organized by FICCI, he said that the two main drivers of growth, consumption and investment demand, are growing in tandem. Das also said financial literacy needs to be enhanced and the technology needs to be leveraged. The new trinity of JAM, UPI and ULI will change the landscape.
The fundamental growth drivers of the Indian economy are actually gaining momentum. They are not slowing, they are gaining momentum. This gives us the confidence to say, that Indian growth story remains intact.
Das emphasized that India's financial sector has repeatedly demonstrated its ability to overcome challenges and crises. He added that the financial sector needs to even further deepen financial inclusion, broaden access to credit and other financial products, and support overall inclusive growth.
All the banking community, both private and public sector, need to have adequate capital adequacy. I think that is the key. We need to build systems and build innovations within ourselves to ensure that we have adequate capital to meet the credit demands of future generations.
World Bank has also upgraded India's growth forecast to 7% for 2024-25.
Union Agriculture Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan on Thursday conducted an aerial survey of flood-affected areas in Vijayawada in Andhra Pradesh. Later, Minister Chauhan talked to the affected people and farmers and held a meeting with officials in Vijayawada to assess the damage caused in the flood-affected areas. He said central government is closely monitoring the situation. Assured in this hour of crisis, the centre stands with the people of the flood-affected areas of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana and will provide all possible help to them in overcoming the crisis.
NDRF की टीमें यहाँ काम कर रही है लगातार. एयर फोर्स के नौसेना के हेलीकॉप्टर्स जितने मांगे गए, केंद्र सरकार ने, प्रधानमंत्री जी ने, होम मिनिस्टर साहब ने उनको भेजने का काम किया और दिन और रात राज्य सरकार के साथ मिलकर संकट की स्थिति से जनता को निकालने का प्रयास किया. और इसलिए इतने भयानक जल प्रलय के बाद भी ह्यूमन लॉस, मानव जीवन का नुकसान बहुत न्यूनतम हुआ है. अगर सरकार इतनी दक्षता से काम नहीं करती तो ये स्थिति बहुत भयावह हो जाती.
The High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh, Pranay Verma, met the Railways, Power, Energy, Mineral Resources, Roads, Transport and Bridges Advisor of the Interim Government of Bangladesh, Mohammad Fazul Kabir Khan, on Thursday. The two discussed the ongoing projects and exchanged views on sub-regional power connectivity and emphasized on safety and security of Indian project personnel, said that Indian High Commission through the social media post on the platform X on Thursday. Let's now turn to other stories making news. The two-day International AI Global Summit kicked off at Hyderabad International Convention Centre, marking the first major AI conference in India, organized by the Telangana state government. The summit aims to democratize artificial intelligence. Chief Minister Revant Reddy and IT Minister Sridhar Babu inaugurated the event, which has drawn global attention. Domestic passenger traffic is set to witness 7 to 10% growth year-on-year in financial year 25, as Indian aviation industry is likely to navigate towards clearer skies, a report showed on Thursday. Rating agency ICRA forecast the domestic passenger traffic to reach 164 to 170 million in financial year 25. According to the report, net losses of Indian aviation industry in financial year 25 and financial year 26 are projected to lower to rupees 20 to 30 billion from rupees 30 to 40 billion. India's Union Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal on Thursday emphasized that a genuine rationale, single window, is key for ease of doing business in the country. Addressing a conference of industries and commerce ministers of states in Delhi, the minister said if all states and union territories come to one platform for approvals and facilities, it would attract global investment in each state. BJP President JP Nadda on Thursday visited the residence of party founder and veteran leader LK Advani and senior veteran leader Murli Manohar Joshi to renew their membership under Bharatiya Janata Party's 2024 membership drive aimed at expanding the party's base ahead of crucial upcoming elections. The Child Development Department organized an awareness program at the Anganwadi Centre under Nutrition Month program in India's northern state of Uttarakhand's Bageshwar. Development Department officials provided information on improving eating habits to enhance children's nutrition. Only rock stars and presidents can usually fill Indonesia's national stadium. But on Thursday, it was the octogenarian Pope Francis who drew more than 80,000 fans to a Catholic Mass in the world's largest Muslim-majority nation. The event was the high point of the 87-year-old Pope's 4 days in the capital, Jakarta, on the first stop of the 12-day tour of Southeast Asia and Oceania, with visits to East Timor, Singapore and Papua New Guinea. Earlier, the pontiff visited Jakarta's Istiqlal Mosque to sign a declaration on tackling climate change and promoting interfaith dialogue to resolve conflicts. The Southeast Asian nation recognizes 6 official religions and religious freedom is enshrined in its constitution, yet about 87% of Indonesia's population of 280 million is Muslim, while about 3% is Catholic. Pope Francis has emphasized Catholic-Muslim dialogue throughout his 11-year papacy and has signed several joint declarations with Muslim leaders. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Olympic athlete and Ugandan marathon runner Rebecca dies days after being doused in petrol by a former friend.
New challenges need new strategies, and technology is already impacting the way we live and we farm.
Based on the spikes and insights which our algorithms suggest, we alert the farmers or whoever the warehouse owner is about what exactly is happening in which part of your warehouse.
The weather in Meghalaya is definitely one of the center points of how we design these systems. And let's look at all of this together in terms of what are the solar irradiance that they're getting. Try and design a system that is designed to work in that situation.
It's a pretty good living. Greenhouses have improved the lives of 80 or 90% of Almerians.
Our supply chain is farm to door. We supply traders directly, bringing benefits to both.
watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. S&P 500 and the Dow Jones started the day quietly as investors looked at mixed job market data to figure out how much the Fed Reserve might cut interest rates later this month. At the opening on Thursday, the Dow Jones went up by 81.4 points or 0.20% to 41,056.33. S&P 500 stayed the same at 5,520.08, while Nasdaq Composite fell by 21.1 points or 0.12% to 17,063.23. Amazon Global Selling is empowering Indian exporters to reach customers globally. Technology is the driving force that is simplifying e-commerce exports for Indian MSMEs. Indian government is investing significantly in tools and technologies to help sellers optimize their reach, enhance product discovery, and increase sales. Amazon's global selling program has enabled 1.5 lakh Indian exporters to sell over 400 million made-in-India products to customers. Maharashtra, Delhi, Gujarat, Rajasthan and Karnataka emerge as the states with maximum number of exporters on Amazon Global.
If we create the tools and technologies and the policies, then our entrepreneur base is one of the most sophisticated in the world, and they embrace things very, very quickly. The government has also started to do its part in a big way. The e-commerce exports chapter came in the foreign trade policy for the first time last year. E-commerce exports hub is a large part of the conversation. It got even airtime in the budget speech of the finance minister. So certainly all the aspects that are ingredients for a business's success are coming together, and that's what is driving some of the trends that we are seeing in the seller system. The technology is evolving quite rapidly. The policies are also sort of keeping pace with what the new age technologies are here to offer. And our entrepreneur base remains very, very entrepreneurial in adopting these.
Moving on, the Tirubhav Tithi of the great Assamese saint Mahapurush Srimanta Sankaradeva, pioneer of new Vaishnavite movement in Assam, was observed across all Namgars and Satras of the state recently. His literary and artistic contributions are living traditions in Assam even today, including the famous classical Satriya dance form. DD India correspondent Subina Roy gives us a special report from Dibrugarh.
It's a special day for Assam as the people here are observing the Tirubhav Tithi of the great Assamese saint Mahapurush Srimanta Sankardev. You would be wondering about who is this great man. Well, he is Srimanta Sankardev, a 15th century Assamese polymath, a saint scholar, social religious reformer who played a crucial role in shaping the cultural and religious history of the Bhakti movement in Assam.
The contribution of Sankardeva is a vast one, so that just a very depict picture. What is the big picture actually left by the Sankardeva, our guru, and also we are known as a Jagat Guru and a new Vaishnavite Guru.
His teachings influenced two medieval kingdoms, Koch and the Ahom kingdom, and the assembly of devotees he initiated evolved over time into monastic centers called hotros, which continued to be important social-religious institutions in Assam.
Mahapurush Sankardev was a 14th century poet cum scholar, but his traditions continue till date in Assam. And his contributions are such that he has given Brajavali language to the famous classical dance, Kshatriya dance, to Borgit and various musical instruments, and also including the mask-making culture of Assam.
You're watching DD India News Hour. Time for all the action from the world of sports. Kapil Parmar became the first Indian judoka winner in Paralympics medal with a bronze in the men's 60 kg J1 category. Kapil defeated Brazil's Elton de Oliveira in the medal clash. Parmar produced a superlative performance, dominating his opponent from the start to finish to record a 10-0 win in the bronze medal contest. Kapil hails from Shivor, a small village in Madhya Pradesh, and is the youngest of four brothers and sisters. His father is a taxi driver, while his sister runs a primary school. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated Kapil for his bronze. Taking to social media handle X, Prime Minister writes, a very memorable sporting performance and a special medal. Congratulations to Kapil Parmar as he becomes the first ever Indian to win a medal in the judo at the Paralympics. Congrats to him for winning a bronze in the men's 60 kg G1 event at the Paralympics 2024. Best wishes for his endeavours ahead. Cheer for Bharat. India's progress at the 2024 Paris Paralympics has been nothing short of historic, with the country achieving its best ever performance so far. India has secured 25 medals as of now, 5 gold, 9 silver and 11 bronze, outperforming its previous record set during the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics. Here's more.
Indian para-athletes are on a roll in the ongoing Paris Paralympics, with the country achieving its best ever performance so far, surpassing their previous best medal tally of 19 medals they won at Tokyo. The success is...
And now an important update. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has returned home at New Delhi after completing his visit to 2 nations. Prime Minister was on a 3-day visit to East Asia. He first visited Brunei and then went to Singapore. Those are visuals that came in just a short while ago. Prime Minister Narendra Modi returning home after concluding his visit to Brunei and Singapore. Visits were aimed at enhancing partnership, attracting investment from these Southeast Asian nations. Those visuals of Prime Minister Narendra Modi deboarding from his plane. He returned to New Delhi just a short while ago. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has returned home after successfully concluding important visits to 2 nations, Brunei and Singapore. In Singapore, Prime Minister is part of 4 important agreements in the domain of digital technologies, semiconductors, health and medicine, educational cooperation and skill development. Those visuals came in just a short while ago. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has returned to New Delhi. DD India correspondent Arun Sharma is joining us on the phone line. Arun, historic visit concludes the diverse and vibrant relationship that India has with Singapore and now with Brunei, demonstrated during Prime Minister's visit.
It was, a successful visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi because the clear focus of the visit was on enhancing the bilateral relationship and also attracting the investment in India. Now, when we talk about the Singapore, yes, the focus was clearly on attracting massive investment, and specifically in the semiconductor sector. And, we saw a great chemistry also between both the leadership of India and Singapore. Also, all the business, when we know this fact that the business leaders, when they met the Indian Prime Minister, so they have primarily committed that in the next couple of years, they'll be doubling up their investment in India. So massive investment is likely to flow up to India. Because of the various reforms being undertaken and in last some of the years, we have seen that how, the business or the, global conglomerates and business tycoons are more than, eager to invest in a country like India. So yes, of course, it was a successful visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Singapore as well. And as we know this fact that 4 MOUs were exchanged during this visit. Now, specifically, these focused on sectors like, health. Number 2, on creating an ecosystem on the semiconductors. That was the key area. And, we know this fact that of the global output, 10% of the semiconductors are being manufactured in or by Singapore. So best practices are likely to be shared going forward. So when we talk about the India-Singapore relationship, yes, on one side, the people-to-people connect will also enhance because as Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the leadership, they met, the focus was on the fact that how can people-to-people ties be increased. So yes, more frequency of flights, culturally, how to connect with both the countries. And of course, attracting the investment was the key area. when the Prime Minister Narendra Modi met the Singapore leadership as well.
Thank you, Arun, for joining us with those updates. So that's the update coming in. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has returned home after successfully concluding the two-nation visit to Brunei and Singapore. But that's all in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also download the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. And with that, we conclude this edition of DD India News Hour. Thank you very much for staying with us. Namaskar.
How it stands at the forefront of this